this was Ben's suggestion to do this mid-season recap discussion of season 8. I think it's a good idea. Obviously, this past episode, this episode 3, like you said, Greg, was pretty polarising.
Yeah.
I think the season thus far has been a bit. I'd best to describe it, just wasted potential, in my opinion, so far. And I've enjoyed every episode. I've not enjoyed myself.
I think
just feeling overall a little let down.
Yeah, you have to realise that the bar's really high, isn't it?
Sure.
Like, so for if you just comparing it against like TV as a whole, it's fucking brilliant. But if you're comparing it against as a Game of Thrones, then it's not been top of its form, at least.
Ben, what are your thoughts on the season so far?
I'm confused why you don't think it's. I don't know why you think this is a poorer season than the rest. It's not like there's not been boring episodes in the past setting something up.
No, it's not necessarily been about.
What you're saying.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about like boredom. It's been about, and it's something that was going to have to happen. It's just they've cut so many storylines out, and they've cut so many characters out just because they need to bring it all to the same place. I think it's lost some of its Game of Thrones magic because of that. Just for me, I think there was always something about having these really intricately wound and intricately tied plots.
One of the reasons I've been disappointed with it is because we know how condensed this final season is. We know that it's only 6 episodes long.
Yeah.
And I was generally okay with episode 1. It served a similar purpose to most of the first episodes, in it just kind of laying a foundation, showing where the characters are.
It's been a bit faster than some, though. Some of the in recent seasons, some of the first episodes have been really slow, but this was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has to be with only 6 episodes, isn't it? So.
Yeah, this was a faster pace than historically recent memory, at least.
It's not 6 episodes, though, is it? I mean, you got to look at it in a sense that the last 4 are an hour and a half. So,
you're right,
in a sense, it's actually 8 episodes. Just the longer ones are.
Yeah,
they're just kind of long TV movies.
Don't feel like it though, does it?
No. This episode 2, I think possibly let me down the most. Maybe not the most. I don't know, but it just seemed like filler. It was just this, and I think I get what they're going for. It was just a nice kind of somber episode, calm before the storm, I guess. With all the characters just mulling over what's to come and just having nice quiet moments to talk and
yeah.
Things like that, but I don't know. I don't think you can afford that in when we're so close to the end, as it's condensed as it is. I was expecting more.
They've got to draw it away from King's Landing, though. I mean, episode 1 was still a little bit of Cersei with the Golden Company coming along, but episode 2 was solely focused. We haven't seen King's Landing for 2 episodes now.
This season so far has been almost exclusively at Winterfell.
Yeah, and as you saw from the 3rd episode, there was nothing else other than the battle. So they can't just not have anything before it. That was the pre-battle. The battle was an entire episode to fit that in.
Yeah, I agree.
You couldn't have that full episode as a battle if you then had to have the build-up in that same episode. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needed something to kind of contrast it. The thing that I always think about in these situations is
day and night.
Two Towers. Back at Battle of Helm's Deep. So leading up to the Battle of Helm's Deep, they had a lot of preamble and a lot of kind of somber moments, a lot of just characters talking and stuff like that. And when the battle kicked in, it's all go. So you kind of need that. It's like the deep breath before before you charge it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think it needed it. You can maybe argue that it didn't do it as well as it should have, or it should have done it differently. There's some good moments in there though. I really like.
Yeah, I think it was just my own expectations. I think that's really made me feel less happy about that second episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've gone into this season expecting a lot crammed into fewer episodes.
Yeah.
So I think that's ultimately why I felt a bit disappointed. It was very somber, and so was the first episode. So I don't know. I think I was just expecting more.
Do you not think this is possibly a problem caused by Martin himself and the fact that he's not finished the story?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I mean,
it's a big problem.
yeah,
The story's
all the
unfinished.
set stories and the side stories were set by him in his books, and now they're having to tie up the story of the series, but they don't have the level of detail that they had
No
for the
doubt
books
about
to
it.
go off. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's not. I wouldn't say it's a criticism of the story of the seasons on TV. I would say it's more of a criticism of Martin himself for
I
not
think
getting on with it.
It shared blame, let's be honest. But yeah, Martin isn't blameless whatsoever. Like he should have sorted his shit out, and he should have written the books, and no one would be bitching about, oh, the story's not fulfilling, because that's the story that he wrote. He's judge, jury, and execution for this story, isn't he? So you can't say, oh, it should have been this way, when no, it's how he wrote it. What I can say is that I really don't feel his books will be very similar, at least, or even a little bit similar to what we've seen in the past couple of episodes.
If he writes them, of course.
Yeah, well, that's the big worry in it. I don't necessarily know if he's going to get there. Let's hope he does, like. Oh.
Yeah, and I think that and I think a lot of people will agree that the Game of Thrones, the show, has taken a dive since we've got to the end of the books.
Yeah, yeah.
Got to the end of George's writing.
That's a point in my extensive notes that I've written. It's a little bit further down. I don't want to jump to it. You're putting me off kilter. I don't even know where it is, actually. I've got so much written down. Continue. I'll.
Yeah, they don't write in the same way. I can't remember the showrunner's names. D.B. Weiss, David Benioff. They don't write in the same way. They don't have that attention to detail, and that you said before that George writes very pragmatically. His stories make sense.
Yeah, first and foremost.
He doesn't put people in situations that I don't know.
Yeah. So
do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly. So let me just, and again, I apologise for kind of reading verbatim here, but so I've put arguably bad writing, because not everybody will see it that way. And it's there was a noticeable downturn since they ran out of the book material. What I've said here is that, in a sense, the betraying some of the characters in what they stand for, and they're going for sort of like popcorn cinema instead, for like big kind of set piece moments and grand, he did this, she did that.
Yeah.
And those kind of moments are inevitably taken up by someone like Jon or Daenerys, because these are kind of like big central characters, and they can do the big grand shit. Daenerys can appear on a dragon, and Jon can, I don't know, miss fighting a White Walker. But one of the things that George Martin always did is, even the characters that couldn't necessarily do those like huge set piece moments, weren't like physically able, or weren't that kind of character, like a Davos, or mainly the one that I've written down here is Tyrion. So one of the lines in the book and in the series as well is they always said a small man can cast a large shadow. And the idea behind that is that, despite Tyrion not necessarily having all these kind of like skills, and not got dragons, and he's not a great physical fighter, he can still impact the world significantly. But if you look back, genuinely try to look back, and I had to think about it. You might be able to find something I missed, but when was the last time Tyrion actually did something significant?
I've thought that exact same thing.
Like genuinely significant.
For like,
depending on a bad decision, you mean? After all he did.
For 2 seasons, but anything impactful, anything where he
he's actually
impacts the story in a big way. he was driving the plot. He was driving his own plot in
Yeah,
earlier seasons, and he's very pivotal. But he hasn't done a whole lot since we left George's writing.
and not necessarily something he didn't do either. Like, you know, you see Daenerys in the story at the moment blaming him for not foreseeing something.
Losing two armies and
yeah, that's something he's not doing. When was the last time he actually did something? And
well, I
quite
still
a
think
while.
he's got a big part to play
Oh,
in the final episodes.
Absolutely, yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely.
But it seems like he's taken a back seat in recent seasons than he has previously, and not just Tyrion, Varys. Varys, who I love and I've loved for so long, he's such a fantastic character and well written.
He's definitely been
well-acted.
non-existent in these episodes.
And he's been very non-existent. What did he do in this latest episode? I mean, nothing.
Well, he cowered in the crypt.
He was just scared in a crypt. But what's he done in the last 2 seasons, really?
And I've wrote the same here, so I've written Davos and Brienne as being the 2 key ones other than Tyrion that I wrote down. Because they've just not done anything significant since the book ran out. Now, in the book, these guys are involved in plot lines that are cut out of the series. So, Davos and Brienne are in plot lines that have been cut from the series that were never in the series to start with. So obviously they have to sort of come up with a reason for them to be around the story still, even though they're supposed to be, elsewhere. And
Where are they supposed to be right now?
So Davos was the one that was sent to find Rickon.
Right.
So in the books, Davos was sent to find Rickon because they anticipated that Rickon was like the last remaining Starker. And Davos was sent to Skargos, which is an island off the coast of the north, because that's where Osha took Rickon. And in the books, Rickon, it's anticipated that he's turned into like this feral child, because he was only like really young when all the shit happened. He was like 4, if that. So Davos is away doing that, and Brienne is involved in the storyline of Lady Stoneheart.
Right.
And I don't know if Ben.
Catelyn.
Yeah, Ben. I don't know if you knew. Lady Stoneheart is the resurrected Catelyn. Who didn't get resurrected properly because she doesn't really remember who she is. Yeah, she has no idea. She just wants revenge on the Freys. And it was actually Beric that gave up his life, gave up his gift of resurrection to her, because he thought it was a good idea. For whatever reason.
So in a sense, from in a sense of it, there's no comparison between the book and the TV series at this point.
For those characters at least. No.
Yeah.
For some
there's been plenty of altered storylines and diverging paths.
Yeah.
Throughout, since season 1, since the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, my gripe there is that they've sidelined so many, and I understand why they've done it. I get it.
They haven't got it to refer to. So.
They don't have time, and they don't necessarily have money, and they don't necessarily have the ability to kind of keep all these plot threads going along at the same time when such significant stuff's happening. But it is a big, it's a big glaring hole for me when you compare it to the books. It's like, what could have been with these stories, what could have been with these characters.
So that's probably where I fall differently, because I've not read the books, so I'm only going off what I've seen. And what I've seen, I've enjoyed.
But do you think they're using all the characters at their disposal well?
Well,
one
of my criticisms for the earlier seasons was it was flying around too much.
Right.
Time wasn't really progressing. There was it's not too much, because obviously now it comes together. But there was so much going on, and they were so far apart. It was a whole episode devoted to Daenerys, and then a whole episode devoted to King's Landing. And you kind of forget what's happening somewhere else until they bring them together in either a conflict or a link. A character from one side appears somewhere else, and that's your only link. I mean, it was series 7 before we got Daenerys and Cersei even meeting. So
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? People have a different opinion on that. I like the really kind of varied stories that that it was all set up, because you knew that it was all going to culminate somewhere at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah, it had
they
to.
all serve the purposes, and that's what would make it more meaningful down the line when they finally clash.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, it's the battle for the Iron Throne, as it always has been.
but well, no. See, yeah, that's another position you and I very much disagree with. So should we open and actually talk about the episode?
Episode 3. From the sounds of it, from conversations we've had, I'm on the loved it. Greg, you're on the hate it, and Danny, you're somewhere in the middle, more pushed towards the hate it.
Yeah.
I think that goes for the three of us in general.
Yeah.
But I think I'm leaning more towards Greg, if I'm honest. I didn't like it a whole lot, and I felt pretty let down by it.
Yeah.
I
definitely am more towards that hate it thing. I didn't hate the episode. I don't hate Game of Thrones. I really, really like Game of Thrones. It's one of my favourite series. It's because I'm so passionate about it, because I like it so much, that I judge it so harshly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want it to be better than it is. And it's disappointing when it isn't.
I do try my best not to overanalyze and go down that rabbit hole too much, because I find myself ruining my own experiences of whatever I'm watching, if it's Game of Thrones or whatever. If I'm watching wrestling or anything, I can always find myself just like getting too nitpicky and stuff, and I end up ruining my own enjoyment of it. I try my best not to with Game of Thrones. Sometimes you can't help it.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to see past the things that you disagree with.
Yeah, and this being a culmination of a 10-year story, I felt let down.
Okay, so maybe what did you like? Because that's my first paragraph in my notes. It's the shortest paragraph.
I mean, I did enjoy the episode. It wasn't a bad episode as an episode of TV. As an episode, it was good.
Yeah,
it was good. Ben and I have spoke about it. It was extremely tense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I spent that entire episode just not knowing where it was going. I was sat on the edge of my seat with pretty much my mouth open the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go on, Ben. You enjoyed yourself. You enjoyed the episode, so
I did. And
go into it for us.
like I say, I'm really confused as to why you don't. And I know there's been a lot of criticism in relation to the lighting. It's very dark.
I think that's one small aspect of why.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have had very big complaints about it because they couldn't see the episode. But obviously, from my point of view on that, it had to be. It's called The Long Night. The episode is literally The Long Night. There's no light. It's the Middle Ages. There's no torches. There's no floodlights, street lights, or anything like that. It's all candlelight and flames.
Yeah.
So it had to give that sort of feel. And when the Dothraki go charging in, and the only light there is the light on their swords.
Yeah.
They are going into the unknown. They would be charging across a field into blackness.
That was one of my favourite shots, if I'm honest, maybe even in the entire series. Just
there's a side-on shot.
All the lights going off. There's
a side-on shot though in that I think is my favourite, and it's
the above shot.
No, it's a side-on shot. So it's where
Right.
the horses are charging, the fireballs are flying over the top. You've got Ghost running alongside, and the flames on the Dothraki swords, and they're just all screaming, and then you get that just wall, and it just. Like
I personally liked the perspective from Daenerys and
Jon and Snow,
up on the cliff there. I thought that was really nice.
I like the really far back one where you're with the rest of the army and you just
you see the lights,
darkness, and then the lights
from Sansa and Arya's perspective as well was quite good when it lights up on one side and just flows across from left to right.
Yeah,
that was really good.
No, I guess
at that point I turned around and was just like, oh my god, they stand a chance here. They've got fire now. That's awesome.
There is a counterpoint towards that though, is that I mentioned Two Towers earlier on.
Yeah.
Battle of Helm's Deep, that was in the dark. I didn't struggle seeing that. That was lit well. I could actually see what was going on.
But it wasn't the dark. It was day. I would say it was day, but very rainy and cloudy. It was raining. It wasn't dark.
No, it was definitely
raining.
Helm's Deep was
it wasn't
definitely
night.
in the dark. Yeah, it was definitely at night time because the whole point of like Gandalf will arrive at dawn on the third day.
Yeah.
And it was night of the second day when the fight was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, I can sort of understand why they did this because you're right. It's called The Long Night, so it'd be stupid if it was shot during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be stupid.
I
if
think
it
they
was
just
shot during the day.
missed the mark with it. It didn't translate to a good viewing experience because of it.
I think the
And
way
I get what they're going for, and they tried it. But
No, I disagree again, because you know when the Army of the Dead was running up towards what was now the Unsullied, because obviously the Dothraki had gone. That you could hear them, and it was the fear of not knowing what's about to come out of the darkness. I thought that was also very powerful.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the entire episode it was shit because of the use of darkness.
No,
Sometimes they used it well. Case in point, what you just said.
Yeah, but I didn't feel as though the rest of the episode was too dark.
Some was just hard to watch, and
Yeah,
just struggled. I bet that
Melisandre put the lights on. She
Yeah.
she turned the lights on. She took pity
what
on
comes
herself.
to mind with me was the dragon fight that happened in the air. I couldn't tell what the hell was happening.
Yeah,
I didn't know who was fighting who.
And
Why?
I think one of the things that doesn't help is the way that they shoot battles. They tend to have a very chaotic cutting style of cutting between camera angles and views, and like wide lenses and stuff like that. And it's to show how chaotic battle can be. It works really well in some cases. So like the Battle of the Bastards, it worked really brilliantly for. But it was shot in the day of the Battle of the Bastards. So whilst it's really chaotic, you could actually see between the shots. Whereas this was very dark and very chaotic. So even between the shots, you were still like kind of squinting and like, what's going on? Who's that?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. Like you were saying, the three dragons, other than when they breathed fire, I have no idea which dragon it is.
Yeah.
Is it Drogon? Is it the ice dragon?
None of
But is that not again what they intended? Because it was so dark that even Jon Snow and Daenerys crashed into each other.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they've put something on the screen that they didn't intend.
But just because they intended it doesn't mean it
Yeah.
necessarily worked. And necessarily translated well.
Yeah.
Didn't to me at least. I didn't. Yeah.
And again, it's like I said, it's polarizing. You know, some people think it worked really well, some people don't. I'm more on the side of I struggled. I didn't struggle loads. I could follow it just about, but you know, I would have liked to have seen more, given the option. Like how I would have switched the big light on.
Maybe it was a case of keeping the cost down.
Possibly,
because it was the most expensive episode they've ever made.
Yeah, it took them a long time as well, didn't it? So they did a lot.
Yeah, and having the long shots in an episode like that would have made it far more expensive. They could probably skip on the level of detail on the CGI because they don't need to cover it as much. Maybe that's what they did. I don't know, but
I didn't realize Ghost and Jorah were such best buds.
yeah,
They went running into battle together.
Yeah, I don't realise how they got back out of the dark.
No, unless Jorah turned around before he got there.
Yeah,
he realised what was happening.
I have a few issues with that whole charge. Apart from it being a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Send your entire Dothraki fleet out into darkness,
into the unknown. It doesn't make any sense. But I had issues off the bat with Melisandre showing up. She shows up through the darkness, comes from the enemy's side. How did she get there?
Fast travel.
Well, not just that. Yeah, everyone can fast travel.
Especially Theon, yeah.
But she just says, you know, tell them to raise the swords. And they do. They listen to her. They don't even know who she is. I don't think. Have they ever met? I don't think Jorah's met Melisandre.
No, I don't think. Has he not met a red woman before though, or was that someone else?
There was another.
There was another red witch.
I think it was Kinvara.
Who spoke to Tyrion and.
She was in Meereen.
But again, they weren't. Yeah, so it wasn't related to them because they were underground.
Whatever happened to her? Just sort of mentioned her and then just never came back. That.
Again, there's another Martin storyline that disappeared, I guess.
That didn't happen in the. Didn't
well, there you go then. It's a storyline created then.
But I think that shows a lot the style of writing as opposed to George's in this episode in particular, because there's so many there's a lot of examples of characters being put in situations where they're vastly outnumbered by the dead, and they survive, and it's almost like they don't have the conviction, they don't have the balls to kill certain characters off. Not that I'm yearning for these characters. I actually want every one of them to live, but it's unreasonable to think that they will.
Some will die still.
Especially, of course, but especially given the situations they put in, it's why write characters into a certain situation if you're not going to pull the trigger on it. Look at Sam in that episode. There was literally a point where John's walking through that courtyard and Sam's on the floor screaming,
and he walks on.
Sam's not even a fighter, and he's on the floor screaming, surrounded. He still lived. There's shots of Jamie and Brienne surrounded and stuff like that.
Well, the initial charge knocked everyone to the floor.
Yeah,
not one of them.
It doesn't make much sense for them to survive. Again, why don't write these characters in that kind of situation if you can't pull the trigger on it?
Because so I'm going to throw some out here. That's not how it's
been done in the past.
So, I think I enjoyed that episode so much, with it being episode 3. So I may have a very similar opinion to you two by the end of episode 6. It depends where it goes from it. Now, I've got theories and places that I think it's going to go, and I hope it goes, because I'm sort of seeing it potentially happening.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, I will probably fall back on, well, that might have been a wasted opportunity.
Well, so I don't want to derail, but I guess... So I've written a bit here, so... As I was saying, I do have the issues with the dark and the light and stuff like that, but they weren't deal breakers for me. I did enjoy it regardless of those things. And like I said, the entire time, it's still a really good episode of television. For me, it's not a really good episode of Game of Thrones, but it's a really good episode of television. I still really enjoy it. However, my biggest issue here with this all is not the directing decisions, it's not the the lighting decisions or even the cinematography or whatever. It's the story, and as we were just saying, is that the decline of the story since George Martin wasn't able to continue or whatever. And I appreciate, there's no one person that's to blame. It's not just the writers, the two D&D, whatever the name is, Dan and David. It's not just their fault. It's a whole heap of things that have kind of been messed up, that have contributed to being where we are.
So what about this episode?
Yes. This is specifically about this episode, but it is symptomatic of the entire last 2 seasons, for instance.
Well, so the interesting thing I've got about that as well is we didn't have these sort of comments at the end of episode 7 when we did our last podcast.
No, we didn't. And you're
we've
right.
Not looked at it.
Yeah,
and we've now
you're right,
criticising things that we enjoyed last time.
Yeah, you're right.
We haven't finished yet. There's still 4.5 hours to go. There is a lot to tie up. There are a lot of characters still out there. And the final battle is still to come.
Well, before we speculate on where we think it's going to go, can we talk about the use of the dead and the Night King and the White Walkers?
So this is the majority of my paragraphs. So I didn't want to rush into it, but I do want to get there. So you're saying it's not the final battle, Ben? In my opinion,
No.
This should have been the final battle. So the series is called A Song of Ice and Fire. It's not called A Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
The throne is evidently, in the books, irrelevant to what's going on. Jon says it all the time, who gives a fuck who sat on the throne? It doesn't matter. What matters is the unstoppable army of the dead that's coming from the north and is going to kill us all.
Yeah.
That should have been the final battle. So for me, they've got these two things the wrong way around. They should have dealt with Cersei first and then dealt with...
But we're not at the end yet.
The dead. So you're suggesting that the dead storyline's going to continue?
Possibly.
I mean,
there is still something that hasn't been explained regarding the Night King.
There's a lot of things that haven't been explained regarding the Night King.
From that episode.
From everywhere.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about this episode in particular.
So let me just jump in. So, and again, I don't want to derail, so feel free to jump in and stop me at any point. But I'm just going to kind of try to belt out these notes because I've written some decent stuff and I want to get it off my chest. So
maybe we should publish it.
Yeah, I should do something like that. Yeah. I'll start a blog, and it'll just be me reading it. My mum might read it as well. So the first half of the episode I enjoyed for the most part. I thought it was tense. The music was great. The cinematography was good. There were some really questionable battle decisions, but fuck it, why not? It was all for the favour of kind of this hopelessness and this kind of feeling of dread and whatever else.
Yeah.
The way it ended, and I'm going to jump a little. I'm going to jump and then work my way back. So the way it ended for me was a massive disappointment. So I'm going to start focusing on and talking about Arya as a character. And I don't mean to single Arya out, but they've singled out Arya out for me. So at this point, Arya is a superhero.
No, she's not.
More than any other character. Now you can justifiably say that, she did loads of training, but she's a superhero. She does things that other people can't do. Period. Flat out. So she's this kind of legendary badass that goes around doing crazy stuff, and the majority of it, in my eyes, is for fan service. A lot of people like Arya. She's developed mentally and emotionally with her storylines, but it doesn't really justify what she's done so far. It doesn't really justify her role in this story. So it feels to me like the writers wrote it because they know people like Arya, and they think it'd be cool for Arya to come in and do all this shit. But what it did is, it wasn't the fact that it was Arya that did it. It was more the fact that it happened in that way at all that I was upset with. Is that this plot that was always built up to be so significant and so important and so whatever was just sort of like cut short in favour of giving Arya this big moment. And one of the upsetting things is that, as well, is that, I was saying if Jon had this moment, if it had been Jon, I probably would have been disappointed as well, because I didn't want it to end so easily.
But Jon had that moment. Jon had that moment. He didn't kill the Night King, but he had the moment where he was surrounded.
I mean, he did nothing in this story.
He somehow managed to get back into the castle, and
he did very little this episode.
He did nothing in this episode.
He failed because he was accepting fate and standing in front of the dragon at the end.
So with Game of Thrones, there's always been this kind of like not just Game of Thrones, with the books, there's always been this kind of split world. Is that you have like the magical storylines on one side of the coin, and the realistic storylines on the other side of the coin. And the realistic shit is like, the throne and the King's Landing stuff and whatever else, where the magical stuff was always the Wall and the White Walkers and the Children of the Forest and I guess dragons as well to an extent. So,
just a quick question, Greg.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In the books, because it might not have got to it, did Jon Snow die?
He's dead in the books at the moment. Yeah.
Right, so they've not actually got past that.
Yeah, he's not been. Presumably, he will be resurrected. Presumably, but he's dead in the books. He died the same way as he did in. He was betrayed by.
Betrayed.
Yeah.
Nice watch. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Jon always had this storyline, and not just Jon. There's a couple of other characters. So Bran was a huge one. They've always been involved in this magical shit and this stuff going on. And this magical story always felt like it was the main thing to me. And for Arya, who was never involved in this, to just suddenly appear. I mean, Arya only found out that the Undead Army was a thing like halfway through season 7. So it's only a couple of hours ago, that, like in our time, that she figured out that this was the thing, and then suddenly she saved the world. And she has essentially saved the world because she's killed them all. Like, all the White Walkers are dead. All the Whites are dead. It's gone. So
I'll come back to that because I still don't know if that's the case.
No, feel free. But so we've cut this story short. Arya's come in for this kind of real good, Arya's cool moment, and she is. I'm not denying that. Arya's one of my favourite characters. But she's come in and ended this thing, and it should have never been that way for me.
I know you said you would have been disappointed if it was John.
Yeah.
And I don't feel exactly that way. I think John would have been great for it. For obvious reasons. Obviously, he's been driving that plot, for the majority of the show.
And I don't.
And that makes sense for him to do it. And sometimes it's okay to do what makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always been Arya that was
was
going to kill the Night King.
It's not.
Well, it hasn't.
Yeah, it's not.
It has in this.
It's been Arya for 2 years.
Yeah, it's
because
they
said
said
as
years.
much.
Yeah.
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 That's what I mean.
There was a line. Well, no.
2 years ago.
They've never put any. The only foreshadowing that she was going to be the one to do this wasn't actually foreshadowing because it was written 6-7 years ago, before they had any idea of who was going to do it. So it was that line from Melisandre when she met him when she met Arya in like season 2 or 3,
first time.
and she said you're gonna close lots of eyes, brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes. And it'd make more sense if she said blue eyes last. But brown eyes. But
whose eyes did she say last?
Corrected herself in this episode, though.
Yeah.
She said blue eyes last in this one.
She
still
did,
said green eyes, and green eyes I think is Cersei.
No, but at the time she said green eyes. So what it's saying is when they wrote that line, they had no idea that Arya was going to be the one to. So that's not foreshadowing. That's just a throwaway line. So you can't say, oh, they planned for it, because that's not foreshadowing. And I think one of the hallmarks of a great writer is foreshadowing, is how well you can do foreshadowing. Because if you can do foreshadowing well and have people not see it, and it's staring them in the face and they've missed it, then you're like a fucking god of writing. That is the best thing to ever do, is to have people look back through your book and say, I think, fuck me, like it was there staring me in the face all along, when they read through it a second time. That's like the holy grail of writing, and that's not what they've done here. So
you've got to go back to this. You've said that Martin wrote this, and he always had a reason for everything he did.
Mm-hmm.
So why did he write it in?
Melisandre and Arya you've never met in the books.
Right.
That was a series thing.
Right. So this is where I can get a bit struggled, because we need to sort of focus on the series.
Yeah.
Because this is where the two arguments cross. So potentially, they've always planned for it to be Arya in the series.
2 years. They planned for 2 years, yeah.
But not in the books.
It's not going to be Arya in the books.
That's what I'm saying though. So we've got to look at it in a series point of view. So where they planned for it for 2 years, it's going to be Arya.
I was just thinking that how they said 3 years. That's when they knew it was going to be Arya. Does that line up with when they went off the books and when George may have told them the ending?
Well, one of the things
they did know the ending. They kept it secret, obviously.
Yeah, first and foremost is that they've chosen.
Have they always known that ending from the start?
Not always,
because I don't know. I don't know when that information was passed on.
Yeah, not always. They had a meeting a few years ago after the series had been going for a while, where he told them what was going to happen, and they've chosen not to tread on the same path.
Right. Okay.
So the ending that we're going to get here is not going to be the same as the ending we'll get in the books.
Right.
Okay.
That's already.
Which is interesting to hear, because.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we get it, that's the thing. If we get an ending in the book.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So this might be the only ending we get. So.
Sure.
Yeah. Potentially.
Yeah, going back to the Night King plot, that's the main reason I feel so dejected with this episode. Is it's this, like I said, it's this culmination of a 10-year plot that's been used so sparingly throughout. You want to got glimpses of them, the White Walkers, the opening scene of the show in the first episode with those Night's Watch guys. And because they've been used so sparingly, it's all it's done is just piqued your interest over time. So when we finally get to this place, it's like, I've been waiting for this battle for so long. I've been waiting to get to the long night, the Great War. that's bigger than anything. It's bigger, as you said, it's bigger than the throne.
Yeah, it wasn't that long of a night, was it?
No, it was a pretty average night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I feel so disappointed. It built for so long. The Night King did very little in it. Not even a fight scene.
Yeah.
I saw a video recently of the actor who played him, Vladimir Furdik, I think his name is.
But it was played by two different people, wasn't it, throughout the course of the series?
Yeah, I think they recast it.
Yeah. That guy from Batman Begins played him for 1 or 2 seasons or something.
Yeah, I just remember it from Kingsman. Actually, he's in that.
I saw him. I saw a video recently of him training for what I would have thought to be.
He did nothing.
A fight. Yeah, like learning choreography or training for choreography. I'll find the clip and I'll show you. But yeah, it's just, and he just did so little. He's done what he's always done.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole show, whenever we see him, he's like looks menacingly, raises his arms. We got a smile from him. That's new.
And this is the thing is, I don't know I don't know how to end this book. I'm not a writer, but I wouldn't have ended it. I mean, like I said, this has been the ongoing thing. This is the big war. This is the big battle. This is what it's all culminating in. In the extended universe, it matters so much. The whole prince that was promised prophecy was revolved around this. It was always the last long night and all sorts of shit, and it's just culminating in nothing really. So you've cut that storyline off. Why was John resurrected?
Have they though? That's where I think I'm going. This is where my thoughts are going.
Why was John resurrected?
In that episode alone, there are tangents and storylines that have been created that haven't been answered just from that episode. And I have a feeling they wouldn't put them in now unless they meant to finish it off in the final episodes. So, one point I'm going to throw out was who the Night King obviously is.
Yeah.
And what he represents other than the Night King.
Mm-hmm.
So, the scene where Daenerys has the opportunity, fires down with Drogon, covers him in flames, and he gives that smirky look. Fire doesn't affect him. Now, why is that? The only people we know so far that can survive fire is Daenerys.
No, don't go there.
Targaryen.
Don't do that.
No.
No.
No. I'm going to go there because there is something else still going. And there is a reason why the end of where he died is slightly different. And I don't think he intended to kill Bran.
No.
I don't feel as though he was intending to kill Bran.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I had a similar thought. Yeah,
there's something else that Bran's going to be. Bran is going to be a really big part of the final episodes, I feel.
I think he's
and I think Tyrion is going to have something to do with it too. Bran, we've had this recent series, last series, this series. Every time Bran sees someone he's not seen for ages, Bran, I'm not Bran anymore. I'm not really Bran anymore. Fucking annoying.
I'm
whatever.
the three-eyed raven.
But, yeah, exactly. He's the three-eyed raven. He's not Bran anymore. But what is the three-eyed raven? We don't really know. The only other time we saw the three-eyed raven...
I'll tell you what, he isn't. He's not a compelling character to watch.
No, he's not.
No.
He's very, very white wall at the minute.
He's essentially Google these days.
Yeah.
But he already said in the episode 2, I think it was, he said he'll come for me. He already knew the Night King was coming for Bran.
I know your search history.
And
you have some really weird taste in porn.
I've got the Jamie Lannister when he first sees him when he comes back now, and he's like, oh.
Yeah, Jamie saw.
That's what I'm thinking
Jamie
about.
saw him, but Bran didn't see. Bran didn't see Jamie.
No, he just saw what happened.
Bran didn't see shit.
You dirty bastard.
Bran sees everything and nothing.
Yeah. But no. Where was Bran for that entire fight? he was warging. Why was he
Warging.
warging? What was he doing?
Hmm.
There's got to
I'd
be a
like to know that
reason.
too.
It's got to be a reason why he was warging. And what we saw was obviously he goes to the Ravens, and the Ravens go towards the Night King, and etc. But then we don't see anything further of Bran until he wakes up and goes to Theon. Oh, you're a great guy, Theon. You're a real nice guy.
Yeah,
and then he
great
fucking
Didn't compliment Mira though. Fucking Bran.
No,
No, I
no,
didn't.
yeah. So he runs in and kills himself. But there's something still with.
Also, you can get the upper hand on him. You can sneak in. That's the way I read that scene, anyway.
You stealthy,
Nah.
like Batman.
Yeah.
Ninja
This
Batman.
is where it falls back. So in the sense of before, when I was saying about the Targaryen, there is something to do with the Night King. He's got a greater power than a normal undead.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
can be killed by fire.
Arguably the first one, given what we know, which is not a lot.
The only other two things that we know can kill a White Walker is Dragonglass and Valerian Steel. Agreed?
Mm.
And we got the Valerian Steel. So where did that dagger come from? The dagger came from Bran, because he passed it to Arya and told her to keep it.
Mm.
But originally it came from back and back and back and back. It was originally from Series 1.
Yeah.
But that Valerian Steel dagger has been with the Starks for the entire time. But Bran possibly has some foresight rather than just going backwards.
I think he does.
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah.
he does,
I
definitely.
think he
agree,
has
yeah.
foresight.
Yeah.
And
I don't think this was all just luck. And let's be clear. I'm not saying that it just happened and there was no kind of like leading up to it. I'm not saying it all just luck. I'm absolutely certain there was something behind it that we've not seen. There was Bran doing something somewhere.
Yeah.
Thinking, doing three-eyed raven shit. I absolutely certain.
And that three-eyed
happened.
raven shit is the stuff that's
However,
going to be the big part.
that
Because the Night King wasn't going to kill Bran. I don't think he was going to kill Bran.
yeah, but that
There
doesn't.
was going to be some sort of connection.
That doesn't change
Um,
my mind that the threat is gone now. He might have done
What
some
is
shit.
it?
They're going to explore it, but the threat of like the long night coming has suddenly gone, and it was ended in
No.
a really shit way.
No, not necessarily.
With Arya shanking a bitch.
Not necessarily. There's something with Bran, and I'm going to keep reiterating it, and it's got to be something that Bran has some other power.
There's a theory running around lately that Bran is somehow the Lord of Light or some sort of physical representation of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I heard that yesterday, actually.
Yeah, and I've seen some theories and some people talking, mainly Reddit, and I was seeing something that all these times where Beric's been brought back, when Jon was brought back, it wasn't actually the priest's words, it was it was Bran, doing it himself and things of that nature. So it wasn't Melisandre lighting those swords on fire, it wasn't her lighting the trench, it was Bran.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it wasn't working for her.
That's quite a cool idea.
It's interesting,
I like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Doesn't you change the fact that the long night's over though?
No, well, there was something Tyrion said in that episode 3, whilst he was in the crypt, and it was along the lines of, if I was up there, maybe there's something I would see that no one else can see. And I have a feeling that that's related to Bran.
Yeah.
Whether there's going to be a conversation between Tyrion and Bran in the next episode or the episodes to come, and he'll realise something. Something will click within Tyrion.
Well, they've had a conversation, and I was hoping that was going to be explored a little more, but it hasn't been, and it may still be. But they had that long talk in episode 2, and they showed a look before going out there at the start of episode 3. But
so here's a question to
thinking
coin off what you're going on, Ben, and I think what you're saying here is, might well be right. I think you're right in a lot of regards. I think that there is something that's going to be explored there with Bran. I don't think the idea of it's just done and it's done. I don't think that's the case. However, I'm interested to see how you think that it's still a problem to be dealt with.
What? The Night King and the dead?
Yeah. So I'm not saying that they won't do some more explanation and some more discussion and some more scenes with it, but how do why do you not
I'm
believe
not a writer.
that the? Oh no, I agree.
I'm not.
Yeah, I know. But why do you
I'm
believe
not a writer,
that
but
the long night, the actual event of the dead coming to take over the world and killing everything? Why do you think that that's not done? That storyline, or at least not the
because I
active
believe
part
it's
of the storyline is done.
unfinished business. It's unfinished business in the sense of the Night King wasn't going to kill Bran. One of them was going to transfer something either way. And Arya just got in the way, in effect. Now, if Bran gave the dagger to Arya, as he did, then you would think it would be coming from the Night King, in this sense of what he knows what the plan is. But it's down to all the parts where Bran has been warging in various seasons so far. Every time we see Bran warg, I think it's 3 times we've seen it now, where he's warged with the Ravens, and the Ravens have gone, and the Night King has been where he's been looking. He's drawn to the Night King in some way, and obviously he's been touched by him on his arm.
Yeah.
But there is some further connection between the two of them, and that's got to be explored, because the way they put that episode together, him warging for the duration of the episode, going to the Night King again, it's a follow-up of what's already happened previously, and then just this sort of he didn't go up to him with his sword drawn, he didn't go up to him prepared to kill. If he was already willing to do it, he would have just done it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
the story with
the
the Night King is always that he's a couple of steps ahead, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, but like both Bran and the Night King are clearly a couple of steps ahead of what we're seeing. So yeah, I think there's some interplay there that's not yet come to light between the two of them. Absolutely, I agree.
There's another rumor going around that he was going to present his sword to Bran. That's one rumor, because he was preparing to draw it, wasn't he? But it doesn't feel as though he wasn't preparing to slay it. There's maybe also something to do with the sword. I don't know.
Yeah, could possibly.
But it was almost like it was going to be a presentation of power to Bran, to the Three-Eyed Raven. He would then be the Night King. Maybe Bran. Throw it in the prince that was promised, but it's not the right prince. The prince isn't the prince we're thinking. It could be another ploy. They've done plenty of those.
Yeah. I mean, Bran's technically a prince because his brother was King of the North.
Yeah, he's still a Stark. So we don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So, in the way that it ended, then the episode of Arya stabbing and them all being turned into ice or dust or whatever.
I cheered.
Did that? Whether or not you cheered, did that satisfy you?
Yes.
Did you think that was a good way to end the threat?
Yes. At that point, and at this point currently, as I said before, I may feel differently once the series is finished. I may be exactly the same place as you when I know how it ends, and if that is the way it ends, and the Night King is just gone in that episode, and we don't see any more related to the dead, or
my largest disagreement there was that, like you said, it's just built up so much, and she stabs him, and it's done.
Yeah, that's my thinking. I just left me feeling unfulfilled.
Yeah, and she stabs him, and he turns into ice crystals or whatever, and that's it. And Arya appeared out of nowhere, and she did appear out of nowhere because they were surrounded by a fucking army of undead and White Walkers. So she appeared out of nowhere like Batman, and stabbed a dude, and that was it. And that just feels like a betrayal of the plot. All of this build-up, all of this foreshadowing to this big event. And it's over because he got stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just unfulfilling.
Yeah.
As I said, just because of how much it's built up.
Yeah. And that's the same thing they were saying, like with Jon. If it had been Jon to do the same, I might have been less disappointed, but I would still have been disappointed. Because it would have been Jon just stabbing a dude then, and that would have been a bit...
Let me throw this out then. So, if that episode had been episode 6, and we'd already fought with King's Landing, Cersei, and the Golden Company, would you feel the same way?
And it-
Would you be happy with that episode to end?
And it ended like that?
Yeah.
No, I won't be. I might even be even more disappointed
Right.
because there'd be no hope of exploring the story a little bit more at that point if it's literally the last episode.
Well,
I
that would have
didn't
been
expect
that
this.
would have been a fire and ice battle.
Who's the fire?
The dragons, the trenches, the Dothraki swords. The fire was all there.
But I mean, it was never a battle between a fight. It was a song of ice and fire, not a battle.
But whatever.
It's supposed to be.
It was two dragons in a sense as well. There was two dragons. One was ice dragon, one was a fire dragon.
Yeah, but
Two fire dragons. It was all parts of that were a fight of
I mean,
ice and fire.
the idea behind a song of ice and fire is that it's supposed to be an allegory or a synonym for the prince that was promised. That it's a person, not a thing, not an event.
Well, that's Jon Snow then,
Potentially, yeah.
because Jon Snow was a Stark, a Snow. That's the cold, and then he's now technically a Targaryen. That's the fire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just a story about Jon Snow?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to be. Or it suggests that way, yeah.
So in that sense, your Song of Fire and Ice and Fire has nothing to do with that episode, in a sense of, well, the Night King's dead.
Exactly.
But if that's what I mean. So it's possibly Jon Snow.
Yeah. That's what I'm aiming at.
Right.
So,
And why is that a problem?
because Arya isn't Jon Snow.
Doesn't have to be. Maybe it's to do with the final battle that's still to come.
No, I'm not having Jon go and shank Cersei. Fuck
No,
Cersei.
Jon won't kill Cersei.
No, she won't. Jaime will kill Cersei.
No, he won't.
Whatever.
Jaime will kill.
Jaime
Yeah, I
will
agree.
kill
I think
Cersei.
Jaime will kill Cersei.
But,
I think Tyrion will die as well.
Jon at this point is just a cheerleader for Daenerys for the rest of the 3 episodes now. He's been marginalised.
Well,
he's turned into Varys.
No, and I think that's something else that's going to change as well
He's
now,
now
because
Varys.
Daenerys has lost her army in effect. She hasn't got the force behind her that she had when she went to Winterfell. She came with the Unsullied, she came with the Dothraki, she came with fucking everyone, and 95% of them are wiped out.
Yeah.
They're on level ground now.
But they've got like
she's
Brienne.
just been told that.
They've
he
got like
might be the
Brienne
heir to the
and
throne.
Brienne and Sam, who are pretty much immortal at this point, so they could just like walk, and they couldn't be
No,
killed.
but
Too much plot armor.
in a sense, they're pretty level grounded. The only way that Daenerys now is going to be able to take control of the North, I think, is if
Oh, I mean, she's got
Auntie
control of the North.
Auntie-
Yeah, be clear. about
auntie and nephew technically get together. It's already playing that anyway. I know it's Game of Thrones.
it. I mean, it's sort of already
Wouldn't
irrelevant
expect
because
it.
he's bent the knee.
He has bent the knee,
Yeah.
but that was before he was the heir to the Iron Throne. As soon as the North finds out about that,
I think Jon is disinterested in that, though.
Yeah, me too.
of course he is.
I don't think
He's
he cares.
but he's a man of his word, and he's like you say, he's already bent his knee, so he's the man of his word, and he always has been. He was at the end of Series 7. He has been throughout, but not necessarily everyone else.
But
Jon is a man of his word, but is the North.
Do you think that
We already
this,
had the little
this-
girls
okay,
running
s-
and stabbing a giant in the eye.
So if the books are called A Song of Ice and Fire, and Jon is that Song of Ice and Fire, or potentially involved in that Song of Ice and Fire in some way, do you think he's Do you think the books are all about who gets to sit on the Iron Throne at the end of it?
No.
So what relevance does the thing with Cersei
where do we
have
go from here,
to fulfilling the story?
I don't necessarily think it's going to end with all their questions answered.
No, I agree. I don't think it will end with all the questions answered. Too few questions answered.
And I think that'll be where they'll end it. I think they won't answer it. And I think it'll be more along the lines of who the Night King was.
I think they'll explore the Night King thing a little bit. I think we probably won't really get any definitive answers as to what's going on there. We're not gonna really get an idea of motive, or we might get a couple more flashbacks, and we might get an idea of what Bran was doing when he was being birds.
Well, that's it. That's another thing. And I didn't actually go into it when I said it, but Bran has already affected the past whilst he was walking or in his little visions, because he affected the same thing with Hodor in season 5, or was it season 6? I don't know which one.
Yeah.
But he's already affected the past,
Mm-hmm.
or he's manipulating the past.
Yeah.
Now that's something else that I think could possibly be what was happening while he was walking within this battle.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Now that could be a ploy. It could be affecting the way that something changes. It could have an effect on Arya. It could be anything.
Yeah. I think
But
we
this is
might
where-
see a bit of a montage is the wrong word, but some scenes of him going and influencing key things to lead Arya to Winterfell to stab
Yeah.
the Night King.
I don't know if that's what it'll be. I'm thinking more along the lines of we might have an alternate scene of what might have been, or an alternate scene that we see through Bran, of what he did,
Yeah.
and we get a culmination of that in episode 6, of the outcome or the result of what he did. There's something about that walk. I don't know what it is. It's bigger than I think we know so far.
I agree. It's intriguing. I don't think that they're gonna leave that alone. I think. Yeah, I'm with you. It's intriguing.
Yeah. But the problem is that it now doesn't
I
matter.
hope it's intriguing. Yeah.
Well, me too. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. If it ends like you're saying, and we all just go, well, they've got to have a final battle down and nothing's explored, then
Yeah.
I will be as disappointed as you two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, does it matter? No.
Does it matter now
What he was going doing? Does that matter?
No, because there's still there's still the unknown at the minute, and this is where I say about reflecting on it at a later time. It might be disappointing then, but at the minute, my thoughts aren't of disappointment. They are of, oh, where is this going to go?
Yeah.
I'm still thinking all nerve endings are firing, and I'm like, oh god, could be that, could be that, could be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
until
I
that-
Same way.
until
I
that's
still wanna
written
know where
away.
it goes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not trying to write you off and trying to be like cutting you off at every turn. I don't want to be that at all. I agree. I think that there's, like I said, there's 4.5 hours worth of stuff. There's like 2 films worth of stuff to explore. Yet,
And
so I think
you think there's only going to be one battle,
there's-
so
there's stuff to
one of
come
those
from it.
episodes will be in one of those episodes. It'll be probably as long as the one we've had.
yeah, but
So the other 2 are story related, I would say.
yeah, my overarching concern is just that, to me, this was supposed to be the final battle.
Mhm.
You know, she even says, "Have you seen the trailer for the next episode, Ben?"
Yeah, I have.
Daenerys
We've
even
had-
said
we've
it,
had-
she's like, "We've had the Great War,
Yeah.
now we're going to the final one." It's like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about the final war?
Yeah, she's still after the throne.
Does anybody actually care? I mean, it might just be me, apathetic at this point, that I've spent so long with this story. Do you actually care if Jon sits on that throne?
No,
Do you actually care if Daenerys sits on the throne?
no, I just want Cersei to die.
Right, so you don't want Cersei to sit on the throne. So it's just
No.
apathy at this point. It's like, I don't care about that storyline. So why, if well, you know, Danny, what did you think?
Cersei is the Mad Queen.
Yeah.
What do I think about what?
Do you care if Jon or Daenerys sit on that throne?
Not especially.
Right. So using,
But plenty people do.
I'm sure,
and a
but-
lot
but-
of people do.
but I've not got them in the same call as us. So 3 out of 3 people agree that we don't
Yeah.
actually care as long as Cersei is not on the throne. So why is that the final war?
Yeah, the throne has never really mattered to me.
Why have they chosen
But I want.
to throw
what
away
I'm
the main
s-
plot in favour of a side plot?
Why? But is it the main plot? This is the thing.
Well,
we don't
yeah,
know.
Again, we're making
He hasn't finished the books. We've no idea.
making assumptions, but
Yeah.
it's heavily implied that this story is all about the long night, the coming of the long night. I mean,
Could you imagine now if this entire episode was just a vision of Bran?
Yeah, the
And
books
then
are
the real fight was still to happen.
the next
We all woke up,
the
and this is
next
what really happened. It was all a dream.
the next book's called if it ever comes out, is called The Winds of Winter.
Mhm.
So that screams to me its main plot is about the Long Night. And then the final book is called A Dream of Spring, and that screams to me that the book is about the Long Night. None of those titles scream to me, oh, the throne actually mattered. Like Game of Thrones, the first book, absolutely. Storm of Swords, sure.
That
Clash
sounds
of
the
Kings,
opposite to me. That sounds like the books.
Clash of Kings,
There's
certainly.
the Long Night, and then there's a
Feast for
final
Crows.
battle after that.
You know, we start with that world of swords and politics and King's Landing, and we slowly get away from it in favour of the main story.
You've said that now, and that puts me more into the inkling that it wasn't. From those two names, spring doesn't sound to me like the dead.
A dream of spring. It's not actually spring. They're just hoping for it. Shit's really dire. It's been the long night. What was that quote they said? During when the long night comes, the snows fall 100 feet deep, and kids are born and live and die in the dark. It's like, yeah, no, it lasted about 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, really short lives. They must be like flies, these kids. And those snows weren't 100 feet deep.
I don't want to come across like I've been overly negative on this show, and I have.
No, me too, yeah. I'm the worst for it, let's be honest.
Well, you're far more invested than any of us. You're our resident Song of Ice and Fire expert. But yeah, I don't want to come across too harsh. And as you said, it is because we're so passionate that we judge it kind of so harshly. But I have enjoyed the journey so far of this season. I have enjoyed it so far. But, let down in the aspects that I've been let down in, but I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm eager to find out what comes next. I'm so invested in so many characters that I'm looking forward to where they go and where they end up. And I've enjoyed, quite a bit of the show so far. There's plenty to enjoy. To point out a few, I really liked in this latest episode. I really liked Lyanna's death. It was a nice set piece, and it was a cool moment, a nice juxtaposition in the sides of both characters.
Did you know that she was only brought on for maybe 1 or 2 episodes?
I did, yeah, but yeah, she was so good.
They liked her so much that they kept her.
Yeah. That's the story with Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. He was supposed to die early on. I think he was supposed to die at the end of season 1 of Breaking Bad, but he was so good they kept him for the rest of the show because he was so good. That was a really cool moment. I enjoyed enjoyed might be the wrong word, but I liked Jorah's death because it felt fitting for him. As sad as it is to see a good character go.
He was always going to die for Daenerys.
Yeah.
He has
been a good character as well, hasn't he?
He's been a great character, and if he could have chosen a way to die, that would have been it.
Mm.
So
Ian Glenn played it well. He was really good.
Fantastically, yeah. So, yeah, that felt right, and it was good. In other episodes, I think possibly my favourite moment of this season so far is Brienne's knighting.
Yeah.
You think?
Maybe not my favourite moment, but I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it.
I don't know. It was a nice happy moment.
But it's not my favourite part.
It was a very nice moment, and I just keep and when looking back at this season, it's the one moment I look back on and go that was nice, and it made me happy as a viewer.
Yeah, I was so pleased for her.
Yeah,
so pleased for her.
And that big grin that she gave after it was
really happy.
Was just nice. And we've never seen Brienne show any real emotion like that. So it was really nice. Brienne, speaking of Brienne, she's so vocal when she fights.
She screams.
She really
proper
screams and grunts.
Like
you can, even when she's not on camera, you can hear her off screen.
when she got knocked to the floor and Jamie had to come over.
It was the same when.
Yeah.
It was the same when she was fighting the Hound. That shot where she's just pummeling him in the face and she's just grunting away. Yeah, she's very vocal. In episode 3 again, sorry, the moment with Sansa and Tyrion was really nice. I enjoyed that a lot. Nice to see those two characters reconcile. I don't know if they're going to form a relationship going forward. It's possible.
You were the best of them talking about their marriages.
Yeah, and I think it'd be nice if they did. I have no qualms with that. I have no issues with that being a plot line going forward.
I don't necessarily want everybody to be married off with each other, though.
No, it doesn't have to.
No, but that would be.
I always dislike that kind of that happily ever after thing.
Sometimes we can have happy moments in this show. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom.
No, I agree entirely.
Yeah.
You've got three. Well, yeah, no, Greyjoys are pretty much. Oh no, yeah, Yara's still alive, so technically not. But mainly it's the three, isn't it? It's the Lannisters, the Starks, and the Targaryens. And those three are potentially going to be linked off together at the end.
Oh fuck! Is it all we've got?
Pretty much.
Jesus Christ.
The Greyjoys are still alive because obviously you've got Yara.
And that's it.
And what's his name? Euron. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Oh, and Tally, but Tally's Sam's his last.
Oh, I think he's still alive. Not bad. Little shitty boy. Robin Aaron.
Oh, Robin Aaron.
They're a big,
fuck Robin Aaron.
They're a big family.
That was a point actually. Where was the guy from the Vale in that fight? You know the one who was Littlefinger went up to in the I can't remember his name. Littlefinger when he was about to get murdered. I'm Lord Protector of the Vale. I think Royce. Not. Where was he?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Jon Royce.
I'm drawing a blank.
Bronze Jon Royce. The guy who was talking to Sansa, he has a really big. He's a big fat guy. He has a really weird chest plate.
Oh, I hate him.
Yeah.
Where was he though? Oh, yeah, I hate him, but where was he?
Taking a shit.
He's like the same. Yeah. He's like a similar character to the dude who had like his hair tied under his chin from earlier seasons.
Yeah.
All right.
He's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
He gets his head cut off by Theon.
Sir Roderick.
Yeah, Sir Roderick. I don't know why they're just so unlikable, and they're like advisors or whatever, like to our heroes, to our protagonists, and yet they're just so fucking unlikable. I hate him, and I hate that guy, the Jon Royce. I don't like him at all.
Well, I want to go back to some. How do you think Ghost survived that, Greg? Because you've seen the trailer for the next episode, and so have I. But
I have no.
I still have no idea how he's still in it.
I think that every time Ghost is not on screen, he doesn't exist. So the second he disappears off screen, he no longer exists because they don't have the budget. So honestly, Ghost can sit on the throne at the end, but yeah, I have no clue. It's a shame as well.
Jorah came back, but
yeah, it's a shame.
You think about it, Ghost is still out there.
He must be like the most mistreated fucking pet in the planet. John just fucks off for months and years at a time. He's like, figure it out. Yeah, if I left my dogs, I'd feel like shit leaving my dogs, and I'd go back to them, and they'd be like, "Oh, why are you back?" And I'd be like, "Oh, my heart's breaking."
Speaking of Ghosts and the Direwolves, though, I think we may have Nymeria back in the final battle.
Why?
Because they're going to be going with Ghost to King's Landing. It would be nice.
I think if Nymeria showed up to fight alongside everyone, that would feel like the worst kind of fan service.
It'd kind of ruin the moment they had.
Exactly.
In the back.
A little while ago.
Yeah.
For me, at least. Ruin the moment.
Yeah, she's...
Defeats the point.
She has her own pack now. She's of that world now.
She might bring them with her.
She's not a pet anymore. That seems ludicrous to me. I'm sorry.
Now I'm saying it in my head. It sounds like fucking Twilight, but yeah. I'm actually hoping it doesn't happen. Actually, now
aren't the Starks, all of them, supposed to be wargs of various levels?
No.
I thought that was the case.
I mean,
because I've heard people say like
they've got a link. John definitely is. Arya is. to a
Right.
much lesser extent than Bran is. Bran's obviously the fucking
Yeah.
Don. Sansa never had a long enough time with Lady to actually, I guess,
Hmm.
ever show. So maybe, you might be right. Maybe. And there's hints that that Shaggy Dog behaves very similarly to Rickon. So
In what
when
way?
Rickon's kind of like scared,
He runs in a straight line.
yeah, Shaggy Dog will zigzag.
Yeah.
No, Shaggy Dog like gets really kind of upset and aggressive, and gets his kind of like back up and stuff. So that there's hinting that they're more closely related than just kind of like surface level. But yeah, so
Right.
there's elements. I think there might have been a tiny bit of hinting that Rob had a moment with Greywind. Maybe during like the battles and stuff, because it was always saying that like Rob and Greywind, Rob would ride into battle with Greywind at his side, and it was like they were one. They were one
Maybe
entity.
that's where Bran went. Maybe he was walking into Ghost, and that's why Ghost is still alive.
I don't think you can walk into Ghost.
You can walk into anything, surely.
Nah, I think there's rules.
I'd like to see this textbook of rules.
I mean, it's written. In fact, it actually is written down because what's his face, Varamir Sixskin says it. So he's saying that you can't, like steal other people's things they've walked into. Like I think
Ghost is password protected.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's encrypted. Yeah, so I think he tries to steal.
Who's walked into Ghost?
Varamir tries to steal Ghost because he sees Direwolf and he's like, "Oh my god, that'd be amazing." Creams himself. Gets his dick out.
Who's Varamir?
He's the guy. He's the kind of weedy guy. He's played by.
Oh, sorry, I know you're talking about.
Is it one of the wildlings?
Yeah.
The one with from Pirates of the Caribbean. With
That's the guy. That's the
wandering eye.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, from The Office.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of him from. So he's
That wasn't Ghost, was it?
No, in the books he tries to walk into Ghost.
Oh, again.
Because he
books, though.
wants. He wants. I know, but if you're gonna take anything as being true, you should take the books. Because they were both they were writing from the books at that point.
Yeah, but they're not now.
But, so you think they just rip up the rules?
No, it's just a thought. But like I said, I can't keep linking it to the books because it's its own entity now.
I agree, yeah, but I think there's a thing there where a rule was established, so to speak.
Can you imagine if he actually did write the final 2 books and it was just literally like fuck it for the entire thing? It's like watch the movie, watch the TV series.
Yeah,
just go with it.
Genuinely concerned, more than I ever have been, that he's not going to finish it. I don't even know at this rate if he'll ever finish the next book. He's supposed to be almost finished with it, but
well, he was supposed to be almost finished it before Series 7, wasn't he?
He's supposed to be almost finished with it years ago, so it's not boding well. He's got a blog. It's called Not a Blog, and it's
clever.
He hides it in plain sight. He hides that area. He posts quite frequently, and he posts about like the fucking American football. And you read it, you're tearing your hair out. You're like, stop fucking blogging, you fucking old man. Write the book. Sitting there blogging, he's like feeling curious, feeling perky, and he's like, fucking, feeling like writing a novel.
I don't want to know about George Martin being perky.
Yeah, but he does it all the time, and he sits there and he talks about the fucking like the New York Giants and the whatever else. He's like, who gives a fuck? No one could. I think even if you went and asked like the New York Giants what they cared about more is whether George Martin supported your team or you wanted him to finish the book. I'm pretty sure they'd all say they want him to finish the book. It's not on. And he also publishes a lot of other side stories as well. It's like, why are you writing that shit? Stop it.
One of us is going to be wrong anyway, and possibly disappointed by the end of episode 6.
Oh, listen,
But,
listen. I absolutely hope that I'm wrong. I really do.
yeah,
And I hope that I come out of this and I'm like, this was brilliant. I was completely wrong, and I'm completely satisfied. I really do hope for that.
As far as I can see right now, from where I currently stand, I can't see it redeeming is not the right word, but I can't see it
rectifying.
Yeah, pulling this back for me and
resolving it in a satisfactory manner.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll come out of the final episode feeling completely fulfilled with it. But I'm so ready to eat my words, and I, as you said, I hope it does. Anyway, let's draw this to a close.
Yeah.
So this has been fun. We should do this again in a few weeks.
We'll come back in 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. We'll speak soon.
Later.